became the county attorney, the prosecutor in Fairfax, Virginia last year. He didn't get there by accident. George Soros, the left-wing billionaire from Hungary, sent the Descano campaign more than $600,000. That's a lot of money for a local prosecutor's race. That's because sometime in the last few years, George Soros realized that instead of trying to change the law, you can simply install prosecutors who will ignore the law. If you want to completely reorder America and wreck it, and he does, that works. And Steve Descano has been a faithful disciple of George Soros. This year, his office has sought minimal prison time for several child sex abusers. Just last month, for example, a county judge told a sobbing young girl that Descano's officer had failed her. How did he fail her? Well, he refused to impose a life sentence on the man convicted of molesting her on a weekly basis between the ages of 5 and 10. Instead, the man got just 17 years in prison. Of course, he won't serve all of that. This show can now reveal exclusive details about a very similar case. The information was shared with us by Dump Descano. That's a group trying to recall the prosecutor. We're fervently hoping they succeed. Here it is. Between 2017 and 2020, Carlos Humberto Sanchez Hernandez, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, repeatedly raped his stepdaughter. We're not guessing about this. Hernandez admitted it. He pled guilty. Then Descano's office struck a deal with the illegal alien for 12 years in prison. That means he'll be eligible for parole in 7 years and could be out of prison at the age of 46 for raping his stepdaughter for 5 years. You should know that in the state of Virginia, the sentencing guidelines called for life in prison. So today, as we were reporting out this story, news broke of yet another accused child abuser that Descano's office tried to help. According to the Washington Post, a Fairfax County judge took the, quote, rare step of rejecting a proposed plea deal between prosecutors and a man accused of repeatedly sexually assaulting a girl, saying the agreed-upon 3-year sentence did not, quote, remotely reflect the magnitude of the defendant's misconduct, end quote. George Soros did that, not just in Fairfax, Virginia, but around the country. Why would you do that to a country? Well, if you hated the country and wanted to destroy it, that's exactly what you'd do. You won't be surprised to learn, and this is directly related, that George Soros is also, through his Open Society Foundation, funding an organization resettling Afghans in, quote, communities across America, without the consent of the people who live there. It doesn't matter what you want, you're just a citizen. Shut up. George Soros is richer than you. He decides what you get. What's interesting, however, maybe not totally surprising, but you should know about it, is that key members of the Republican establishment are helping George Soros do this. The project is called Welcome.us. Former President George W. Bush, this pains us to tell you, but it's true, is involved. So is his brother Jeb, exclamation point, his wife Laura. They are joining the Obamas and the Clintons as honorary co-chairs of Welcome.us. They're all serving on the group's National Welcome Council because they, quote, share a common belief that welcoming newcomers is inherent to who we are. Once again, a lecture about who we are by people who have no idea who we are because they know nothing about the country. The group is also being funded by big corporations, of course, Walmart, Facebook, Microsoft, Uber. They're excited. What's interesting, though, is that welcoming newcomers will not include settling any of them in Martha's Vineyard, with the richer parts of Dallas, Chappaqua, in any of the neighborhoods where the people funding this actually live, because that's not who they are. None of them will be settled in those neighborhoods, ever. They will be settled in yours. So we learned a lot about George Soros when we went to Hungary. That's coming up in an episode of Tucker Carlson Originals later this year on Fox Nation, which is good. Well, next up, a couple of kids